being an atheist who is quite active on social media and often engages theists and other atheists in debate about religion and philosophy and the like, I hear a lot of different excuses or arguments thrown my way regarding why people are atheists or why people choose to reject religion. And just recently, I came across sort of top 10 list of some of the more condescending things that theists say to atheists regarding this. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to address some of these since they come up so frequently. So, number one is, I'm praying for you. Okay, that's a nice gesture, I suppose, but you have to consider that when you're speaking to an atheist, that means very little. We don't believe that any gods exist. So when you say, I'm praying for you, all that means to us is that you're simply talking to yourself and hoping that we'll change and come around and see things your way. It actually comes off as kind of condescending. I suppose it depends on the context in which you're saying it. I mean, if there's an atheist going through some trouble or something like that, or having a hard time, or has lost a family member, or has some kind of tragedy, to say I'm praying for you, that's, we understand that you just mean that you're thinking of us and you are wishing us well. But when it comes up in the context of, oh, you don't believe in God, I'll pray for you. Well, that's really just condescending, and it means nothing to us. And it just makes you come off looking kind of like a jerk, honestly. Number two, eventually God will reveal himself to you. Well, we're all really hoping that he does, because then if we have evidence, if he physically manifests or gives us some kind of empirical evidence to demonstrate that he actually exists, or, it actually exists. I don't want to call it a he, or, because we don't know. It could be anything if there is a God out there somewhere. So, yeah, if a God actually gave us some empirical evidence of his existence, we would absolutely 100% accept that and then consider the ramifications. There's some atheists that still wouldn't go to the level of worshiping this God. For example, if it was the Christian God, Yahweh, many atheists would still not worship him because of all the heinous things that he did in the Old Testament, and would want, some kind of explanation for his behavior before they simply bowed at his feet. Number three, well, you're an atheist because you used to be a Christian, but you must have not just been a true Christian. Well, we hear that a lot of the time, not only about atheists who formerly were Christians like myself, but also about other Christians, get criticized by Christians today, saying, well, they're just not true Christians. They don't understand. They're misinterpreting the Bible. They're taking things the wrong way, or, whatever the case may be. And it's really just a form of the no true Scotsman fallacy. So if you're not familiar with that, go ahead and look that up. But basically, it's when you argue that somebody isn't a true version of something because they don't align with what your definition of that is. And a lot of atheists used to be religious. They used to be theist Christians. They have read the Bible, and that's not the reason that they became an atheist, because they didn't understand, or they didn't have the spiritual discernment to understand God's word. Really, if God couldn't get his message across in the manner in which he decided to, which was to have a bunch of rules and things written down from events that happened a couple thousand years ago, and then since then it's been translated and just completely twisted around or changed around, and scriptures have been omitted, and there have been additions and things like that. Like, if God didn't realize that that was going to be a problem for people to comprehend his message, then that's really on him, not on people that are rejecting it because it just doesn't make sense. Number four, one day you will know the truth. Well, really that's just grandstanding and self-righteous. That you're assuming arrogantly that you have the truth, and that we're just not privy to it, or we just don't have the ability to understand it, or we refuse to accept it, when in all actuality the opposite is true. Certainly we can never disprove God. We can never prove that no gods exist, but all of the available evidence argues against the existence of any of the gods that have been described in any holy books or any human history. So to claim that you know the truth and you have no evidence to back that up is really just arrogant and foolish. Number 5, you can't have morals without God. I made a video addressing this very topic. I'll link to it here. But suffice to say that the Christian God Yahweh, all the things that he did in the Old Testament, he condoned things like rape, slavery, genocide, a lot of other heinous acts. So if that's your source of quote unquote objective morality, then your morality is objectively evil. So to claim that atheists can't have morality without God is just pretty absurd and dishonest. But I won't get any further into that. You can watch my other video on that if you want more clarification. Number 6, God still loves you. Well, that's great. Once again, we don't believe in any such thing as God, so saying that he loves us or hates us or pities us or envies us or anything else is completely meaningless. It'd be like me saying that Bigfoot loves you or Harry Potter loves you. It means absolutely nothing, since none of these things exist in reality. And it's really an absurd concept that we would need a human blood sacrifice, an innocent human blood sacrifice, to take on all of the evil and wrongdoing of humankind, so that the rest of us don't have to be punished for it. Justice doesn't work like that. We would never ever offer up an innocent person to take the punishment for crimes somebody else committed. I'm sorry. If that's your God's way of showing love, then I don't accept that, and I don't want his love. Number 7, you deny God because you want to sin. Now, this one I hear quite frequently, and it's really just absurd. If you think about it, this is pretty much essentially like telling somebody, hey, if a criminal simply just believes hard enough that the police don't exist, then he won't go to prison. That's pretty much what you're telling us, because it's basically you're saying, okay, you don't want to believe in God because you just want to do things that God disallows you or doesn't condone or doesn't support you doing. So basically, it would be like atheists. Hey, if I don't believe in God, then there's not going to be any punishment. I could do whatever I want. And if I just don't believe, then I won't go to hell, or I won't have to face any consequences. It's just ridiculous. And not to mention that sin is just an invented religious construct. It, some quote unquote sins that theists have are really not immoral at all. They don't hurt anybody else. So they're just kind of a fake morality, and they just place restrictions on people to control people. Number 8, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. We're all familiar with that verse from the Bible. And you know what? You're right. The fool has said in his heart that there is no God, because if you're using your heart, that means you're basing your decisions on emotion, which is never a good idea. See, the wise man says in his brain or in his mind that there is no God, because he has critically considered all of the possibilities and the evidence available to him and made a conscious decision. So I 100% agree that a fool does anything with his heart, either accepts or rejects God, because emotion is never a good thing to, or typically not a good thing to base decisions off of. Number 9, you're just going through a phase. Again, this is pretty condescending and insulting to atheists, especially people who have been atheists either since birth or for a number of years or for much of their life. I kind of can understand where this could come from, especially with younger atheists, maybe teenagers. Because I was an atheist for about a year and a half, right at the end of high school. I was raised Catholic, and then I became an atheist for a while, and then I kind of re-explored things, Christianity outside of Catholicism for a number of years, and then eventually came back around to the realization that no, you know what, Christianity and all religions are just invented and false. So in a way, my initial atheism was a phase, so I can kind of understand where that comes from. But again, in most cases, that's just something that's insulting to say and simply isn't true. And number 10, you're just being fooled by the devil. And again, this is, you're saying that people don't have responsibility or cannot control their own thoughts or actions. You're saying they're basically just puppets being controlled by some kind of demon spirit, and that they've just, let him into their heart, or, this just feeds into the whole notion that atheists worship Satan or are aligned with Satan or anything like that. It's just ridiculous. Satan is an invented concept. The word Satan in the Old Testament was with a small s and referred to human adversaries. Not until the New Testament did they capitalize it and turn it to the embodiment of evil, and then tie it retroactively back into the serpent in the Garden of Eden. So, Satan, again, we don't believe in Satan, just like we don't believe in God. So now that I got those all addressed, I want to just lay out a few actual reasons why theists probably have the religion that they do. So, and these are actually true in most cases. So, number one, your parents passed their beliefs onto you. So, your parents believed in whatever religion you were. They taught you that growing up. They brought you to church or read you the Bible or whatever your holy book is, and you simply believed your parents and didn't question them, and that's what you learned growing up. Number two, you were born in a geographical location and or a culture which practices the religion that you belong to, and this oftentimes is the case as well. You can look at maps of where the predominant religions are in throughout the world and see that it very much aligns geographically and culturally. Number three, maybe you were struggling with something with your life and maybe going through some hard times, maybe even got into trouble with the law or something like that, and somebody convinced you to find God, whatever, whether it's just a general idea of God or whatever religion that you are, but basically you were struggling with your life and you looking a way to turn things around, so you basically found religion, as they say. Number four, you experience some sort of traumatic event in your life, and you attribute your good fortune to be able to come out of that event either alive or fairly intact, or whatever the case may be. You attribute that to divine intervention, when really, as with most miracles, it's just a mundane occurrence or something that was just sheer happenstance or luck or chance, and you just want to attribute something else to it. You want to attribute it to God or whatever, because you just can't fathom in your mind how you could have came out of that. And then number five, you can't handle the idea of not having certainty about existence. Why does the universe exist? And you can't handle not having a purpose, an ultimate purpose for your life. You just simply, that drives you nuts, that you can't comprehend how time and space began, or the idea that you don't have any purpose beyond what you can accomplish here on earth in your life. So you kind of reach out and you look for something higher, and you kind of selected the religion that you best made you the most comfortable, or something that could kind of allay those concerns and fears that you have. So that's pretty much it. I hope that this clears up a lot of the misconceptions, and I hope that if you're an atheist and you're getting theists who are coming to you with these arguments or excuses, that this helps you to kind of address those. And if you're a theist who uses one of these excuses, hopefully this will clear things up and you can stop using them. And if you want to actually get into an honest intellectual conversation, philosophical debate about cosmology, theology, or things of that nature, that you can kind of stick to facts and evidence and sound logical arguments and philosophy, instead of appealing to these fallacious and really condescending accusations. I am Prototype Atheist. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with anyone else you think would be interested, and subscribe to my channel for future updates. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/prototypeatheist and on Twitter at protoatheist.